بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Ramadan Mubarak to all of you. We've now begun the fast by the grace of God, and may God give you strength and success and acceptance in this wonderful month. We are not able to do the things that we're used to doing in the month of Ramadan, but we can do those as much as possible at home. We can do substitutes for them. You can pray Taraweeh on your own and with your family, and you don't have to be a hafiz. You can just work on the verses and surahs that you have recited, that you have memorized, and recite them. And you can also use this as a time to do other good things as well. So make the most of this Ramadan. God has willed it to be like this, and He will not hold you responsibility. He will not hold you responsible for anything that is beyond your capacity and yet you cannot do. Ramadan is a time of graciousness and mercy and generosity. The Prophet ﷺ was more generous in this month than any other time. And one of our acts of generosity, and it's also a duty, is to do da'wah. Is to do the da'wah. And so we have right now a project going on in Guinea-Bissau, which is a da'wah project. And I want to ask you to support that with your prayers and with your advice and with your attention and by telling others if they're interested. And we'd like to raise funds for that, independent of what we do in our own organization. We would like this to be something else that people, even people who are not associated with us and don't even know about us, that they can contribute to. Guinea-Bissau is a beautiful country and an agriculturally fertile and rich country that is to the south and the west of the Gambia. It's not very far from the Gambia. You have to go through Senegal a short distance and then come into Guinea-Bissau. The Gambia, which is the smallest country in Africa, and in my mind, one of the most beautiful and one of the best, the Gambia, Gambians are 100% Muslim. When you see Christians and others in the Gambia, they're always from someplace else. They're not Gambians. Guinea-Bissau, on the other hand, is one of those countries from which people come to work in the Gambia or to trade in the Gambia or to visit. And Guinea-Bissau has an old Muslim population, which is centuries old, but it also has a majority of people who follow traditional African religion and who are also Christian converts, especially Catholic. It was a Portuguese colony, and the Catholic Church has spent a lot of money on Guinea-Bissau. There are 4 tribes there: Manjaco, Balanta, Papel, and another tribe. I don't remember its name right off. And the Manjacos have been coming into Islam for some time, but the Balanta, who are perhaps the most dominant tribe, they are people who always refused. And because they refused adamantly, the Mandinkas who tried to bring them Islam called them Balanta, which means they refuse. And so they're the refusers, but now the refusers are beginning to accept. And this is something that has happened in recent years. It happened, first of all, by a number of individuals who became Muslims, and in the cases I know, then came to the Gambia, memorized the Quran, and stayed there. And then also there was a man who had embraced Christianity. And in the wake of his conversion, because he's also prominent in the Balanta tribe, we began to get big conversions in the tribe. Sometimes the conversion of an entire tribe, or I should probably say here, clan. And then also Islam began to spread more and more among the Papel and among the Manjaco and among others in Guinea-Bissau. So this is really important work. This is a major qurbah, something that draws us near to God. And we ask you to be as generous as you can possibly be with that. And we will try to be as effective and as efficient as we can possibly be. The ummah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not just you and me. That's a false understanding or a limited understanding. The ummah of Muhammad is all of creation. And the Ummah of Muhammad includes people like you and me, of course. We're the first ones that come to mind, and we're the ones who bear the responsibilities. And we are called Ummatul Ijaba. We are the Ummah of acceptance because the call of Islam came to us or to our forefathers and mothers one way or another, and they or we accepted it. So that makes us part of the Ummatul Ijaba, the Ummah of acceptance. And then you have Ummatul Dawah. You have the Ummah of the call. And that would be the Balanta who haven't converted, and the Papel, and the Manjakos, and others, and everyone in the world who doesn't belong to Ummat al-Ijaba. So, and this is a major obligation of our time. And one of the signs of the end of time is that people who were our enemies, sometimes our bitterest enemies, and the Balanta were like that, they now become our friends and they begin to convert. And there are a lot of cases like that in the world today. The Mongols of Mongolia are one. They were adamantly opposed to Islam, and they were completely intolerant of Islam. And now you have a significant number of them who have embraced the Dawah. So this is very important. And this is something that we need to take interest in and we need to pay attention to. And in that, it's not just money to pay for teachers and to pay for very humble and very basic facilities, but it's also that we need to learn how to do this. We have got to learn how to do da'wah effectively, intelligently, thoroughly. And we've got to learn also how to organize them then as Muslim communities. Without, for example, in the case of the Balanta, destroying their tribal network or harming it or causing division among them. And so far, Islam has spread very peacefully among the Balanta. And we've had cases, for example, of an old woman who told her people, this is a good religion for you, but she says, for me, I'm still going to eat my pigs. I'm still going to stay with what I have and eat pigs. And then not long after that, she said, actually, I'm going to join you and give that up. So it's been spreading among the tribes, and we've tried to be really sensitive to them in this and really careful without dividing the tribes. And then how do you make them a Muslim community after that? And the Balanta live very much off of basic agriculture, which they do very well, and also the raising of livestock, cattle and sheep and goats. And so maybe also at some point we could also bring in permaculture, for example. We could expand things. They have a problem also of saline water because Balanta has a lot of inlets and a lot of bays and a lot of islands, and the ocean is really there. The Gambia has a similar situation, but the Gambia has in the middle of it the Gambia River, which is a huge freshwater river. So Gambian water, well water, doesn't tend to be saline, but in the land of the Balantas, the rainwater is the best water, and when you dig a well, it may be very salty. So you have to look for the good wells. So we also need to work on the wells. We need to dig wells. We need to find the good places to do that, and we need to help them with their agriculture as well. So there are many things to do, and for us, the da'wah is not just to give shahada and to walk away, but it is to give shahada and to stay. And that means to have teachers stay there who we strive to find among the very best who will do that work sincerely. So this is something excellent for you to do in Ramadan and after Ramadan. This is a fundamental obligation of Islam. Every messenger and prophet is sent to give da'wah. And you, as a follower of those messengers and prophets, have also the obligation, if you can't do the da'wah, to support it. Of course, to do it, you really have to be properly trained. You have to have the right kind of education. You want to make sure that what you're teaching is correct and not false. And you want to also make sure that the approach you take is suitable for the people. The way that we would do da'wah, for example, among African Americans or Latinos or European Americans or immigrants, wherever they come from, is not the same for any of those groups. It would differ for every one of those groups. And it would differ in all cases very much from the Balanta. So we have to learn how to tailor make the da'wah in every case. And you can be sure, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, as the years go by, that we will be called to do these kind of operations all over the world. And even in our own countries, in the United States, in Canada, in Mexico, and elsewhere, in Great Britain. And in all those cases, as with the Balanta, to also establish viable communities that can take care of themselves, that can take care of the converts, that can look after their needs, that can develop them, educate them about Islam, give them the ability to find good work and income if they didn't have that already. So this is very, very important. The Ummah, as you know, is Ummatul Ijaba, and it is Ummatul Da'wah. All of that is the Ummah of your Prophet ﷺ, and you have to respect them as members of the Ummah. And with regard to those people who are Ummatul Da'wah, the Ummah of the call, even if they don't accept the call, it doesn't mean that then you turn your back on them or you scowl and you begin to speak ill of them. No, because it means that the message didn't reach them yet. And maybe the message will never reach those particular people. But what about their children? What about their children's children? What about their relatives? What about others? So always treat the Ummah of Da'wah with great respect. And the Muslim never looks down on anybody. And the Muslim never regards himself or herself to be better than anyone. Because even though we may be in a good condition, but for the grace of God go I. That what did I do? What did you do to deserve to be part of Ummatul Ijaba, the Ummah of acceptance? The Ummah is even broader than that. The Ummah includes also Ummatul Tashrif, which means the Ummah of ennobilization and of great honor. And this Ummah includes the rocks and the pebbles and the diamonds and the rubies and the jewels and steel and iron and all minerals, even salt. It includes even water, all atoms, all molecules, all compounds. And it includes also all the plants and all the animals. And it includes also the plants and those microorganisms like the COVID virus, which are not really plants or animals. Sometimes they're closer to one group than they are to another. Okay, but even these microscopic things, and we might not even be able to say they live in the same way, certainly, that a plant or animal lives, but they are also part of the Ummah of Tashrif. And you have Ummatul Bishara wal Intidhar, and this is the Ummah that received the prophetic news that the Prophet Muhammad would come وسلم, at the end of time and be the greatest of them all. And that's from every messenger and prophet from the days of Adam until Jesus Christ, peace be upon him. And so they belong to his ummah as people of Bishara. And they looked forward to his coming, and they wished that they could see him or be with him. And you have also Ummatul Fatra, and this is the Ummah of the gap. And these are those human beings who never were exposed to the message. And you find them in the islands, some of the islands of the South Pacific, and you might find them in some of the mountains of the world, or some of the remote villages of Africa or Asia, or even the United States. And they may be people also that heard about Islam, and they heard about someone called Muhammad, but what they heard was so distorted and so false, it didn't count as God's mercy to them, because what they were told Islam was such as today when people think Islam is the same thing as terrorism. Well, that's a good excuse for them. And it's a huge burden upon us because we have to show that's not true. So may you open up your hearts in this month to the entire Ummah, which is all of creation from beginning to end. And may you give great attention now to Ummah al-Dawah. And may you try to spread the message there. Help us to do that and help us to establish a community that will be the very best and will be a model community for West Africa. God bless you and protect you and give you good. وفقكم الله. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.